Hey, I'm Mikaela and this is my presentation on screen printing. The traditional form of screen printing, also known as silk screen printing, is a printing technique that uses woven mesh to support an ink blocking stencil to transfer and create an image. There are two main methods: the traditional hand-cut screen print or photo emulsion screen printing, and then the commercial methods using a flatbed press or rotary screen press. In this presentation, I will cover both types, what they're made from, how they work, what they're used for, the strengths and weaknesses of each, and the different methods of using them. To start off with, I'll explain what the traditional form of screen printing is and how it is done. There are two ways of doing this, the first via a hand-cut stencil and the second via exposure to light. I'll explain the hand-cut method first. The hand-cut stencil method consists of 4 elements: the screen, the squeegee, the stencil, and the ink. The process uses a woven mesh stretched tightly over a frame made of wood or metal. Proper tension is essential for the accurate spread of ink. A stencil is produced by manually or laser cutting out a design, which then acts like an image plate. The stencil is placed on the material and the screen is then placed on top of and the ink is supplied. The ink is then forced through the fine mesh openings using a squeegee that is drawn across the screen, transferring the ink through the open areas of the screen and onto the chosen medium. The diameter of the threads and the thread count of the mesh will determine how much ink is deposited onto the medium. One colour is printed at a time, so several screens can be used to produce multicoloured images or designs. Other factors such as composition, size and form, angle, pressure, and the speed of the squeegee can also determine the quality of the impression made. The ink is then fixed in place via exposure to heat. The second method is via light or UV exposure and is often referred to as photo emulsion. Again, it requires the same 4 elements as before: the screen, the squeegee, the stencil, and the ink. The difference between the two of these is in the method. Photo emulsions are produced by applying a light-sensitive emulsion to the entire screen using a scoop coater and allowed to dry. The screen is then exposed to a film-positive image or black and white image on acetate. This is then exposed to UV light and the non-image areas of the emulsion harden upon exposure, and the coating in the unexposed image areas remains soluble and is removed with warm water. With the photo emulsion process, yellow and orange coloured fabric is used for the screen mesh, as these coloured screens prevent light from bouncing when the stencil is exposed to UV, which could cause the exposure to be uneven. Once this process is complete, the process of placing the screen on the material and using a squeegee to apply the ink is the same as the hand-cut stencil method. There are 2 types of screen frames, metal and wood. However, metal frames have become the industry standard as it's more sturdy and will not warp from water like wood does. Metal screens are made out of aluminium or steel. Aluminium is commonly preferred because it is lightweight yet sturdy. There are 4 main types of fabric used in screen printing, and they are silk, cotton organdy, nylon, and polyester. Silk, which is a multi-filament weave, is the traditional material used for screen printing. However, it is rarely used now as it loses tautness with frequent use, and reclaiming chemicals containing bleach and chlorinated solvents destroy the silk. It is now primarily used for printing art. Cotton organdy is a multi-filament weave. However, like silk, it also loses its tautness after frequent use and is rarely used nowadays. Nylon, which can be either a multi-filament or monofilament thread, is good for stretching, however is not very rigid and lacks stability, so is rarely used. Polyester can be either a multi-filament or monofilament as well. It is strong and stable when stretched and is the primary material used in commercial screen printing. There are a whole bunch of different types of inks that you can use when screen printing, and depending on the output of your print will determine the ink used. However, the most common ink used for commercial purposes is plastisol. This type of ink gives good colour opacity onto dark garments and clear graphic detail with a more plasticized texture. It can be made softer with special additives or heavier by adding extra layers of ink, and is cured or fixed by heat. There are 2 different types of commercial screen printing methods, which are used to produce a large quantity of images at a more rapid rate than the traditional way and at a larger scale. The 2 types are flatbed press and rotary screen press. Flatbed press is the most commonly used process for screen printing and is a 3-step process. The screen is first moved into position over the stencil, The squeegee is then pressed against the mesh and drawn over the image area, and then the screen is lifted away from the stencil to complete the process. With a flat bed press, the stencil to be printed is positioned on a horizontal print bed that is parallel to the screen. The screens used on rotary screen presses are seamless, thin metal cylinders. The open-ended cylinders are capped at both ends and fitted into blocks at the side of the press. During printing, ink is pumped into one end of the cylinder so that a fresh supply is constantly maintained. The squeegee is a free-floating steel bar inside the cylinder, and squeegee pressure is maintained and adjusted by magnets mounted under the press bed. The benefits of rotary screen presses are high output rates and long rolls of product. It is the only way to make fully patterned printing and coding as a continuous process and are most often used for printing textiles, wallpapers, and other products requiring unbroken continuous patterns. Screen printing is more versatile than traditional printing techniques. The surface does not have to be printed under pressure, and it does not have to be planar. Different inks can be used to work with a variety of materials such as textiles, ceramics, wood, paper, glass, metal, and plastic. Because of this, screen printing is used in many different industries, including balloons, clothing, decals, medical devices, posters, product labels, signs and displays, snow globe graphics, textile fabrics. Screen printing is a form of stenciling that first appeared in China in 12,000 AD. However, credit is usually given to pop artist Andy Warhol for popularizing the art form and sending it into mass production. Since then, many other artists have used screen printing as an expression of creativity and artistic vision, such as Roy Lichtenstein and Jasper Johns. As screen printing materials are so affordable and readily available, they have been used frequently throughout history in underground settings and subcultures. The non-professional DIY screen prints have become a significant cultural aesthetic and have been seen on movie posters, album covers, paste-up graffiti, flyers, and t-shirts for the last 50 years. I hope you've enjoyed my presentation on screen printing and have learnt something new. Thanks for your time and have a great day.